Hobart says he applauds the governor and the legislature for taking a positive step toward addressing the problems that plague American Indian communities.
But in terms of making meaningful and real change, I think the couple of the operative words are ongoing resources. This isn't going to be a one-time infusion that's going to make, particularly for the American Indian community, several centuries of disparities disappear overnight.
Senator Hayden agrees that reducing racial disparities will take ongoing investment. And he says legislators committed to spending another $35 million in the following years. Hayden says in the meantime, the nonprofits receiving funds can help people in ways that create positive ripples throughout their communities. One of those groups is Twin Cities Rise, based in North Minneapolis. The agency's president and CEO, Tom Streitz, says a portion of the more than $1 million the nonprofit is getting will continue funding for a partnership with Metro Transit. He says the year-old program trains mostly men and women of color in bus maintenance.
When they exit that training at Hennepin Tech College, they will be stepping into $50,000 a year diesel mechanic jobs with full benefits.
Streitz says those jobs have a multiplier effect as people who were previously unemployed or underemployed earn more money.
Our proposition is really simple, is that we are going to produce a really great employee for an employer. And then in turn, this individual is going to make great money, get their family back in many cases, and then pay taxes and contribute to society and improve the community. And we've done that thousands of times.
Streitz says unlike past efforts to address disparities, this funding package has the potential to make a significant impact. He says that's because it's more focused than past efforts. Streitz is also hopeful Governor Dayton will sign it. A spokesman for Dayton says the governor may make that decision early next week. Brant Williams, Minnesota Public Radio News.
Members of both political parties have introduced a bill in Congress to reform something called civil asset forfeiture. That is the process the government uses to seize suspicious assets, usually cash, and keep those assets without convicting anybody of a crime. The system can lead to abuse, and last year the Obama administration took steps to fix it. But as NPR's Martin Costi reports, critics of the system say the reforms didn't go nearly far enough.
The new rules were supposed to address a very specific kind of situation when local police seize something, usually cash, but then hand it over to the feds for forfeiture. That's what Jason Terry thought was happening to him a couple of months ago when a Minnesota state trooper stopped him for speeding.
As soon as he saw the money, it kind of escalated to something way more than it ever was. I even said something to him. I said, that money is mine and it's all legitimate.
It was a lot of money, $105,000 sitting on the back seat of his pickup. Terry says it was a client's money meant to buy logs for his log cabin building business. But the troopers said they smelled pot and they suspected drugs. They never found any, but they took the money, and he got the impression that it was all being turned over to the DEA. Terry says a federal agent seemed to confirm that in a later phone call with Terry's wife.
And she told me, after she got off the phone, she goes, it makes me sick how he's talking like that's his money, and that she had got the sense that it's already their money.
For the record, the State Patrol says it never passed the money to the feds, and they gave it back to Terry after 3 weeks. He thinks because he raised a fuss with a local TV reporter. And why does it matter whether the DEA actually had Terry's money? Because last year's reforms were supposed to reduce federal involvement in forfeitures like this. Rob Johnson is with the anti-civil forfeiture organization called the Institute for Justice, and he still remembers when the new rules were announced.
Everybody was extremely happy about it. I remember people in the office cheering and clapping, and then we got the details. It began to dawn on us very quickly that these are not real changes.
The problem, he says, are the loopholes. He says the new rules have so many exceptions for things like drug task forces that very little has really changed on the ground.
The federal government is still accepting property for forfeiture that is seized by state and local police on the side of the highway with no federal agent in sight, or in some cases probably no federal agent within 100 miles.
Here's the key detail in all this. When local cops turn assets over to the feds usually give 80% of it back to the local police department. It's a kind of finder's fee, which critics believe motivates a lot of these local seizures to begin with.